Welcome to our incisive agents and investors from all across the country. Today is Thursday, March 13th, 2025, and this is All The Leads Mastermind podcast number 519. Tim will not be with us today. He has a dental. That's D with a dental with a D, not M with an mental with an M. Anyway, he has a dental emergency, so he won't be here today. But we will carry on without him. Also is very interesting as the AI discussions have been. We decided we're working on some specific programs and solutions for you guys. So you're very welcome to talk about that and anything else you want. But we thought we'd take a break from that this week and kind of get back to our regular format of probate, divorce, late mortgage, anything we can help you with as far as, questions, solutions, marketing, situations you're coming across. And as always, if you do have something you would like to discuss, don't be shy. I'm sure there's other people on the call that have the same question or issue. Just raise your hand, go down to the bottom of the screen, that little react button down there, and just hit that and then raise your hand. And before you do that, when the recording came on, you have to acknowledge that you're okay being recorded. So if you see that on your screen, acknowledge that first. And then if you do want to actively participate, hit that little heart on the bottom of the screen. And we are good with doing that right now. If anybody has anything, we don't have any particular topic today. Bruce, anything you want to go over this week? You feeling better, Bruce? You look like you're 100% now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm 100%.
Good.
Finally feeling better. These winters and coughs just stick with me forever. So no, nothing is coming to mind that I want to open up with. But let's see where the questions go, and then I'll monologue.
All right, Jody, Match, and our coaches. Do any of you? Good old Aline always raises her hand. I saw you raise your hand, so
You
please.
did?
I thought I did. Maybe you just moved in that direction.
Like being picked on by the teacher.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to start with today?
Yeah, let me see. Gosh, why am I getting stuck?
Aline's had a great week.
Oh, thank you, Bruce.
For those of you that don't know, this might be a good topic to start the discussion with. A lot of our subscribers, we've had people in California that want to work leads in Arizona. We've had people in New York that want to add counties in Florida, and they often do it with like having a boots on the ground presence in the other county they're working. But Aline's doing it a little bit differently. She has boots on the ground in both places. She's going back and forth between New York and I have to ask her every week where she's at. So she's adapting to a new Florida market while hanging on to her New Jersey foothold.
Yes.
And I don't know if you want to talk about that and how that's going for you and the challenges, and if anybody else has anything similar or anything else you'd like to talk about, just raise your hand.
Yeah, sure. So as we were saying at the beginning, it definitely has its challenges, but the positive is it's almost like a blank canvas. So you get to start fresh, new area, new territory, like completely a blank slate to create it the way that that I want to create it. Really getting to meet new people. And I have to say, it's so good for the brain because we're constantly like retraining and learning and going out there. And it's really interesting to see also how people react and are in different states, in different localities, different counties. That's also pretty fascinating. And the thing that is so important is really finding a voice that suits the people that we're talking to and that we're in front of. So that's what I'm noticing a lot, is that it's not robotic. And that's one of the reasons, like, we don't have scripts or we don't have something specifically structured. We could have like an outline, but really being able to tailor ourselves to who's in front of us. That's something that I keep learning over and over again. And I think that's really important, especially working now in a different area.
Sure. One thing you mentioned there, you talked about we don't have scripts. Obviously, we have developed scripts.
Yes.
As we've said before, scripts give you the confidence to to go in and get started, and that confidence is what gets people's attention. But we're real big on inflection points in conversation, I think is what Bruce teaches. The scripts will get you started. It's a good go-to if you run out of something to say, but you want to bring a lot more than that to the conversation. The other thing I was going to say about you, Aline, you don't seem to have a New York attitude. So I don't think, like, we had one of our subscribers that was moving from Southern California to Alabama. And I
Yes.
said, oh boy, you're going to have some cultural adjustment there.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I'm one of 5 people that was born in Florida. I think everybody else is from New York. So you probably
Absolutely.
you
So I
probably
don't,
aren't running into the cultural
yes.
adjustment like you would other markets, correct?
Yeah, I think that's also what's helped me in New Jersey and New York is that I don't have that. I don't, come from like a very aggressive uh direction. I'm much more kind of I don't want to say laid back, but much more relaxed and meeting people like where they're at, not like assuming this is where they need to be or anything. So that's super important, not imposing.
Perfect. What else
Um,
we got, guys?
so
Bruce,
I got some news to share.
yeah, go for
please.
it, Matt.
Yeah, so we've been running ads now for about a month, and we are getting leads for under $14. So I'm pretty excited about that. And so these leads we're retargeting. They're folks that are already probate. So we already have their name and their number. We're running videos to them, and then we're running a 99 things that I wish my attorney told me before I filed for probate. And it's going very well. We've had a lot of people watching the videos, and we're turning some of these folks into appointments, and they want to sell their house. So I'm very happy about that, especially for $14.
Matt, would you elaborate a little bit? You're taking our subscribers' data and
Yep.
using that to create opted-in leads, basically. And
Yeah, so what I'm doing, so I'm creating a custom audience. And then once I create that custom audience, I upload the list. Once we upload the list, we're then running advertising to that list and getting them to give us their name, their information, and giving us the okay to talk to them about, potentially helping them with their probate scenario and or helping them sell their house.
And then once you have that conversation, you take the temperature, you pass it back to the subscriber as either a hot lead or a nurture.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge, especially in light of all the, TCPA regulations, I think that have been postponed till June now. But it's getting harder and harder to deal with people that aren't opted in. So that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that was why we did it originally. And then I think they actually overturned it. At least that's what I heard. Now, I don't know if maybe they put something else into place, but I thought they overturned it. So that'll be interesting to see.
Kind of like tariffs. You got to watch and see what happened yesterday to see which ones are in place or
Right. Right.
I won't go there. That's all I'll go there. But yeah, it's an ever-changing environment for sure.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Awesome. Nobody has
Yes,
raised their hand yet.
on a topic, Jim.
Please.
See if we can see if anybody wants to chime in on. We don't talk that much about pre-probate usually on these calls. I feel it's always probate and divorce, and so we'd be curious to hear if anybody out there is using probate, some of the or pre-probate, some of the experience they're having, and maybe talk a little bit about that as an option for people to start thinking about.
Yep. Perfect. You guys you understand the difference and the reason we created the pre-probate product. We had some markets like Colorado, some hyper competitive markets in California where the subscribers told us, by the time I get the leads, 30% of them are already listed or they've already got it under contract. And we always said, well, glass half full, there's still 70% that haven't done anything. But for highly competitive markets, and it's good for realtors or investors, but the pre-probate allows you to get there first before anybody else. It's virtually within days or a week of the time of death. So that's the upside. You definitely get there first. You've got almost zero competition. We know for sure that, well, for sure, with pretty high degree of certainty that there is property, that's part of that estate. And we give you all that contact info. That's the upside. The only downside is we don't know for sure who the decision maker is going to be. With probate, we know who to call. With the pre-probate, we'll give you all the potential heirs. The obituary will say survived by his spouse and his children in descending order. So we'll give you maybe 3, 4, 5 people to call. And you may have to call them all, but I think most people experience that the first one they reach will say, well, I'm not handling that, Uncle George is, and you'll know who to call next. So there may be a little bit of more legwork getting to the people. The upside is for sure that there's property, and for sure that you're getting there first. Yeah, go ahead, Jody. You want to add to it?
Yeah, so I was going to chime in that that's a lead type. Maybe some people might be more hesitant to call because it's a more recent death. I know Matt has been working on that lead type, and they've fine-tuned some processes, and so they're not afraid to make those calls. So could be a good opportunity to get those leads and work with Matt's team on uncovering opportunity. Also, really good to start dropping mail out to them. If you have probate in that county, pick up the pre-probate, start planting seeds, dropping out letters, postcards, so that as it gets further into the process, you've got some brand awareness when you're picking up the phone and making those calls too.
I want to
Go ahead, Matt.
I want to piggyback on that too, because in a lot of cases, they don't even know that they need to get an attorney, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But when you tell them like, oh yeah, an attorney could be anywhere between, $5,000-$6,000, you can kind of hear their jaw hitting the desk proverbially as you're on the phone with them, because it's a big expense. And so I feel like that's a huge opportunity, especially on like the investor side. If you're bypassing the entire process and saying, hey, we want to make you a cash offer, and then you basically through the proceeds of the home square away with the attorney. I don't know all the logistics and legalities and all the states for that, but we found a lot of success with working with other individuals that do that, and they'll pay for the attorney and take all that stuff off their plate. So that I think is a big opportunity for sure.
And to add to that, one of the advantages too is most of these are going to eventually go to probate, or a good percentage of them, but you do reach people that are in trusts and that may not have to go through probate. So you're reaching those. And for most of our subscribers that get it, it's not an either or, it's both. They'll do both. They'll do the pre-probate to catch them early, and then they'll do the probate so they know when the probate was finally filed. And if you guys want to try both, we can do some kind of a bundling deal for you. If you're an existing probate subscriber and you want to add pre-probate, just let us know, and we'll try to put together a good bundling deal for you. Anything else that I missed, Jody?
Yeah, sorry. See, somebody's just asking where we get the pre-probate leads. From All The Leads. That's one of our products.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I've heard some realtors are squeamish calling people 3 months later, because it was the death of the family. And some investors, the guy died yesterday at noon, he'll reach out, So it kind of depends on what your tolerance is. And you definitely want to moderate your approach a little bit to be more empathetic if it is a recent death. But either way, you're calling to help them. So, it's what you're comfortable with doing. Alex, I saw you had a question. I was just going to address that. So please, Connor, can we unmute Alex? Or does Alex? There you go. You good, Alex?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
So I had 2 questions, right? I mean, you guys provide all these lead sources, and we spoke on the phone a handful of times. This is for all the people on the group, right? What kind of results are you guys all seeing with this leads? Are they usually majority of them are flip opportunity, or are they list opportunity? And then the other question I had was for divorce leads, how are you guys working those? Same concept as probate, or what are you guys doing on that? Because that's something I haven't dabbled into and thinking I might start.
Sure. Anybody? I have a couple comments while we're waiting for my own experience, but anybody, Bruce, anybody that has personal experience with those, you want to comment?
Yeah. So I want Alex and anyone else to recognize that probate is just kind of my lane and specialty that I've stayed in. Bill actually just joined, and Bill's probably, he didn't hear the question, but Bill, we just had a question of what kind of approach on divorce leads and some of the other lead types that we had. I'm going to speak specifically to probate, and then I'm going to give you my 2 cents, which is coming from an uneducated background on the divorce and the pre-foreclosure leads. But from probate, it really depends on the market as to the ratio of investor opportunities, like flip opportunities, to listing opportunities. I would say in most markets, with some exceptions, in most markets, you're going to be 70 to 80% list, 20 to 30% investor looking for a cash offer. My market is probably, I'm in Triangle area of North Carolina. It's kind of a new emerging market, a lot of newer houses. We don't have a ton of flip opportunities. So I want you guys to kind of weigh that out. Price range. What is the price range of your area? We've got one of the subscribers and people that does a lot of coaching with me, David Pinnell, down in Dallas, Texas, and 80% are flip opportunities for him. Most of them want cash offer. It's the opposite here. Most people want to net the most money. Most of them don't want to go through the hassle of listing, but they still want to net the most money, and they'll listen to reason if you can get in front of them, and they'll end up listing. So a lot of times they're very motivated for a cash offer. They just don't want to go quite that low. So 70 to 80% list, 20 to 30% go cash. If you're in a position to wholesale something that's kind of retail ready and maybe just needs some lipstick, you could probably flip those ratios a lot. You could go in and instead of offering 70 cents on the dollar, you could go in and offer 85 cents on the dollar for a retail ready house and get more people to sell cash. So that's from the probate perspective. Now, real quick, on the pre-foreclosure and the divorce, I would not handle those the exact same way. If it was me, I wouldn't handle them the exact same way that I handled a probate. Probate, I have no problem telling someone, I'm reaching out because you're going through the probate process here in the Wake County area. I connect with everyone that applies for probate, and I try to find out if there's any help I can provide on the probate process. So probate, help with the whole process. Divorce, I don't call and go, I see you just filed for divorce. Is there any help that I can give you? Should I play matchmaker? Maybe hook you up with somebody else? I'm not doing that. I'm kind of treating it more like a circle prospecting call. And I would lean the same way on a pre-foreclosure as well. It'd be a little bit more for me like a circle prospecting call. And I do want everyone to know I may have gotten really good at a probate call. I didn't start that way. So anything that I give you on circle prospect, on divorce or pre-foreclosure, take it with a grain of salt because I always have to adjust after I get some response to my phone conversations. But I would treat those two more like circle prospecting, and probate very much letting them know that you know they're in probate and that you're here to be a guide and offer resources.
And Bruce, I called everybody who's been with us for more than a year to getting divorced, and the approach was mixed. There were some people that had, a lot of them did have their hat handed to them, like you said, mentioning the divorce. So they just kind of like pretended like they were calling through the neighborhood. But a couple of them said, no, I prefer the direct approach. I loved it. I think it was Steve on the last call had a really good blend of the two. And I thought it was really clever. Were you on that call, Alex? When he talked to, what he was doing, and I thought this was really smart, he says, introduces himself and he says, this may sound a little strange, but your house raised its hand and said it might be interested in getting sold. Does that make sense to you? And what are you talking about? Well, I have a friend who's really kind of a tech genius. He just gives me a list of homes every month that have a high likelihood of selling. And for some reason, you're on the list. And the lady kind of laughed and said, yeah, I think I know why. I'm going through a divorce. And that worked really well for him to, it's a little less phony than saying, I just happen to be calling, but it's not as direct as saying, I know you're going through a divorce. And he's been doing really well with that. He just started working a few months ago and he's setting multiple appointments with that. So I thought that was a really clever blended approach. But
I
like
love
anything else, go ahead, Alex. You unmute yourself again. I think you got muted.
Oh, no, I was just commenting though. I love that.
Can you
Yeah.
say that script one more time? And what did he say again?
I think he said something like he introduced himself and said, this may sound a little strange, but I'm looking at my records here, and your house seems to have raised its hand and said it might be getting sold pretty soon. Does that make any sense to you? And of course, I say, well, what are you talking about? He said, oh, I've got a friend, kind of like the Columbo approach. Like, I don't know. I got a friend who gives me a list of, who's a data genius, gives me a list of these properties every month that are likely to sell. I don't know exactly why, but for some reason your name came up on that list. And he said people will appreciate that you didn't say, I know you're going through a divorce, but they'll say, yeah, I think I know why. I'm behind on my payments, or yeah, I think I know why I filed for divorce. And he just felt like that was a more gentle way to ease into it that was believable. And I thought that was kind of brilliant. That's something that, that he came up with on his own. And if I may have that script a little bit wrong, but that was the gist of it.
I think you got the good gist, but I do remember I think he listed off some possibilities. He says sometimes it's because you lived in the house for a certain amount of time. Sometimes there's a public filing attached to it. Could be a probate, a divorce, or something along those lines.
You've been shopping a lot at Home Depot lately, and it looks like you might be, all the known signs that supposedly trigger you to be more likely to sell. So
Right.
yeah, yep, interesting. And I was just going to go back to Alex. I agree. This is just my anecdotal experience. When I had the idea for this company, I started calling in my own market and in South Florida, and this was 12, 13 years ago. I don't think there were as many options back then. The two options were list your house for 6 or 7% or take a 35% discount with an investor. And I found about 10 to 20% of them had some impending urgency. Mom died. We got to get dad to nursing home. We need to sell right away. I had one by the time the probate was filed. Their father hadn't made a payment in 3 years. It was scheduled for sale. Well, I stepped in with my investor hat. I got my attorney to stop the sale, and I made a really good profit on it, but they were thrilled. I think today the ratio of potential investor deals may be even a little higher because I think there's more options now. There's wholesaling. The last house my wife and I flipped, a hedge fund paid retail for it because the rent was so good, which is something that wasn't even on the table, 12 or 13 years ago. So it kind of depends on what kind of investor you are, the opportunity. But that is why we always tell people, if you're a realtor, have an investor. If you're an investor, have a realtor, that you can find a way to monetize those leads that you can't do business with. And the nice part about it too, if you have somebody that wants full retail right now and you refer it to an agent that you trust, work out some kind of a marketing fee, if things change 3, 4 months down the road, you're going to be first in line to buy it. So it's kind of like getting in the line first if the situation changes and they need an investor down the road, they're going to refer it back to you first. So there's a lot of advantages of realtors and investors working together in that context. Did that answer all your questions? Did we mute you again?
So Jim, I'm gonna jump in and really emphasize something for everyone here. A lot of times we are pitching people, especially on the phone, and this is a huge mistake. We're pitching people on the process of getting what they want. And that's a very big mistake when we're prospecting and selling, is most people don't want to know the process. If you're going to set an appointment, you need to set an appointment around the result, not the process. So I very frequently talk to agents who want to list a property, and I'll tell them to use the language, hey, if selling is something that you might do in the future, do you think maybe it might be okay if I brought you an offer? So brought you an offer. Why? The seller the family that's going through whatever they're going through, they really only want to sell. They don't want to think about going through the process of interviewing agents and putting their house on the market. They just want to sell. And if we spend less time explaining in the preliminary conversations the process that it's going to take to get them the result that they want, and then moving the result that they want to the front of the line, the top of the list, getting them to agree that they want that result, bring you an offer. Now, when we have the appointment, we can go through the best way to do that. I can bring you an offer. I can make one myself right now, investors. I can facilitate one for those of you agents that don't want to invest yourself, but you have investors on your list. I could have one of my investors bring you an offer, or if you're looking for a higher price, we could list. But I would encourage you guys to save that conversation of listing, if you're an agent, of listing until you've deepened the relationship a little bit. If you want to catch people's attention, catch their attention not with, hey, I'll list your house at the lowest price. I'm the best real estate agent. I do the most marketing. All that's process oriented. And the consumer really doesn't care much about the process. They only care about the result. And the result is sell the house. So if they're going to sell a house, let's talk to them about bringing an offer. If you're an agent, bring. If you're an investor, make. So an agent, would it be okay if maybe I brought you an offer? If you're an investor, would it be okay if maybe I made you an offer? And that'll get a lot of appointments that you guys are missing right now.
And Bruce, is a really subtle difference. I can't remember if it was you or we heard it from someone else that people love to say no. So instead of saying, would it be okay if I brought you an offer, say, would you be offended if I brought you a buyer? Would you be offended if I brought you an offer? Do you agree with that or not?
Kind of. I do. This is a technique that's been used for by a few like sniper salespeople for years. It's been popularized with the never split the difference approach. So I love that approach. I love labeling. I like giving people an opportunity to say no. I really agree with those things. For me, my whole my entire objective is to turn a no into a yes. So I want to take the objection that they're going to give. And in probate, I can tell you what the objections are. We've all heard them. If you guys prospect, you know what they're going to be. My attorney's handling everything. I don't need anything right now. It's too early. They're going to want to hold you off, especially in the preliminary conversation. So knowing that those are about to get thrown at me, rather than say, would you be offended if I made you an offer, and looking for the no, I'm looking to turn whatever that no was going to be into a yes. So instead of, hey, can I take anything off your plate right now? And they say, no, you can't. I want to say, should I assume that you have everything handled right now? And that gives them the opportunity where if they were going to give me an objection, I get that objection framed in the context of a yes, you're right. I do have everything handled right now. It allows me to extend the conversation. It also gives me the opportunity to where if they want to say no, no is now framed in a very good light. So if I say, should I assume that you have everything handled right now? If they're going to say no, that's a great thing. No, I don't have everything handled right now. I need help. I can deal with both. So if the objection's coming, it's a yes and not a no. And if they disagree with the assumption that I've made, now I get to say, okay, well, what do you need help with? And we can kind of spring forward from that.
You're right, Bruce. It was that never split the difference. And he recommended, said he used to say, did I catch you at a good time? You got a quick minute?
Mhm.
And they would say no. Then he started saying, did I catch you at a bad time? And they, because they want to say no. You got a quick minute? No. So, it's very subtle, but it's an interesting way to play around with it and see what works better for you.
That book is one of my favorite books, and I certainly don't want to trash any of the concepts from it, but sometimes I see people that take those principles and they just blindly apply the principles without really thinking about what it might be doing to their future conversation.
Sure.
So I've got people that will use the label principle. It sounds like this, and they'll use it over and over and over and over again, and they never really get anywhere in the conversation. Everything the person says, they go, "Oh yeah, it sounds like," and then they just repeat it back. And that's a great technique, but sometimes you can just talk in circles without ever really getting anywhere. So I encourage people to read that book and implement the practices, but make sure that you're not just talking in circles without actually getting to the place you want to be in the call.
Perfect. Who else? Raise your hands, participate. This call's about you guys. What is working for you? See, all I can do is ask. And Ed, I think I was just referring to you. Wasn't that you I was talking about? Ed, unmute yourself, please.
I was just wondering about mailings. What's the frequency for the mailings? Is it once a month, every 45 days?
Can I take that one again?
Please.
All right. Um, there's going to be a bunch of different perspectives here, and those of you that are doing this or are coaches that are doing this, and you've got your frequency, please chime in. I make people so mad when they ask me about frequency of mailers because I go, it depends. You constantly want to be tweaking it. So in the beginning, I would start monthly for 5 or 6 months. But the thing is, you're going to base it on your market's reaction. In my market has reacted, and this has evolved over the years. In my market, I don't start the mailers for about a month and a half, sometimes 2 months. And I call first. Now, I don't necessarily want to refer to a letter on my phone call. So a lot of people mail first, and this is a great approach. They mail first, and then they call and they say, "Hey, I'm following up on a letter I sent you." It's an easy entry to a phone conversation. I don't do that. So I typically call first. After a month and a half, something like that, I recognize who is not going to engage with me on the phone. And then I go very aggressive with 4 letters spaced 1 week apart. At that point, they've proven to me that my 6 or 7 phone calls are all for nothing. And I just want to change tactics and go letters. So my attorney, one time I asked my attorney how long a particular case was going to last. And he said, "How long is a rope?" And it just made me so mad that he gave me that answer. And I'm kind of giving you a "how long is a rope" answer because and it depends. There are 5 or 6 different scenarios that I could implement in every single market from a mail standpoint, and all of them have merit. If you want to start out with something simple, 5 letters, 1 month apart. If you want to start playing with it, you might give it a month and let their mailbox quiet down a little bit. If you're in a hot market that's getting a lot of mailers, any competition that you have, if you're in a competitive market, and you might not be, but if you are, any competitors that you have are typically going to quiet down and drop the lead after a couple of weeks. So if you're in a hot market, maybe you don't send your first mailer out for a month. You let the mailbox quiet down a little bit. That way you have a better chance of standing apart. The bottom line is you want to be attempting to be in front of people either on the phone or through the mail or combination of both for at least 5 months if they're cold. Once they're in your pipeline, you know what's going to happen. You should have a warm mail sequence as well that you've worked on that you're sending to them as an individual. But let's kind of stick with the cold leads for now and say 5 months, you got to be in front of them. And they need to see your name or hear your name on the phone at least once every couple of weeks. So that's why I typically say it needs to be a combination of phone and mail. That way you're doing each one at least once a month for 5 months.
And Bruce, I always, whenever we talk about mail, I always say this, that, I mean, if you were on the call a couple of weeks ago with Travis Wade, he's been with us for 8 counties for 8 years, I think. And he's got it to the point where he consistently does 3 to 5 multi-million-dollar deals every month. But he said his average conversion time is 8 months. So I really think when you set up your mailing campaign, if you're going to put it on autopilot, we have a 6 month and a 12-month letter that alludes to the fact that, hey, it's been a year, you may be sold by now. And if you work your leads and you archive them, I think you should just put it on autopilot to send a letter out to the ones that you haven't eliminated. In a year, you're probably going to eliminate 90% of them. So it's not going to cost you a lot to send a letter out to the other 10%. But the older they get, the closer, if they're ever going to do anything, they are to doing something, and the less competition you have. So I don't think you can contact them too far out. And I always tell people, just put it on autopilot. Every after 6 months, after a year, you're going to send out this letter. But don't do that unless you're going to work your leads and archive them. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting a lot of money on postage for people that have already sold.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, Ed?
And there's a really easy way to do that. Just when you're in your leads, you just archive or you take them out of your mailing campaign. So you have a conversation with someone and they say, hey, I'm going to sell. Maybe you don't want to send them a letter that says, hi, my name's Ed. You've crossed that bridge. So maybe you write them a handwritten note or send them an email or go knock on their door or something like that. You can go into marketing and exclude from mail. And then that way, when your campaign is running each cycle, that individual that you already talked to, or that individual that said, I already sold, not selling, no real estate, they're taken out of your auto campaign. And it's one of the reasons why I want in my market. And again, guys, please remember, this is just me. This is not because it's the way to do it. In my market, I try to cut out on the phone. I try to cut my list in half. So if I get 200 leads, by the time my mail campaign kicks up in 30, 45 days, it'll be 100 because I talk to the rest on the phone.
In 6 months later, it might be 30, and in a year, it might be 10 or 15.
Yep.
But there's gold in the, what is Jody, you always say, old to gold? There's gold in the old leads for sure. We should call the program that.
Yeah,
But,
and speaking of older leads, if you have had a conversation of any type of rapport, definitely put them on some type of seasonal mailing, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, something like that. I have found that has been great to keep my name in front of them. And years later, which has really happened to me, they call me and say, hey, I want to sell.
And Bill, I had a conversation a few months ago, even before this whole AI thing kicked in. Of course, it's been around for a couple of years. We're just becoming aware of it. But with the guy that used to send out Thanksgiving cards and holiday cards, and because these people have a relationship with them, they are either formally or informally opted in. He was using an app, I don't remember what it was, but he would record a really nice video. Hey, Bob and Sally, how you doing over at that house at 123 Main Street? Hope you're enjoying it. When you get together over the holidays, talking to family and friends, and subject to real estate comes up, please remember me. It would go through his list and it would change their names and move his lips differently for every person that the video went out to. Instead of Bob and Sally, it would be John and Mary, and the address would change too. And he said it was absolutely indiscernible. So in addition to the mail, I used to call every single one of my past clients every month. And I mean, it just would be so much easier today to do that. Like Bruce just said, you might want to call the top 20 personally, but the other 80 or 100, find an automated system, whether it's mail or video or some kind of technology to stay in touch with them. That can be your best source of leads for sure.
Yeah, my two biggest automated emails are Thanksgiving. It's how to fry a turkey in a deep fryer and cook it in the oven. Those are the #1 clicks I get on my holiday emails.
Where's our friend Roger today, where he delivers his, what kind of bread is it? He delivers to his, or he has delivered to all of his clients. He's become famous for some kind of pumpkin bread recipe.
Pumpkin bread.
Or something.
Yep.
Yeah, pumpkin bread. But he actually delivers it to them every Thanksgiving personally, to his top 50 or 100 clients.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other thing before we get off the topic is,
no, please.
I just want to encourage everybody. Everything Bruce said was amazing. But whatever you do, it's like stocking a bass pond, which I always say, and you just got to nurture it because it will feed you. And that's what I tell my students. And it does not look in one set way. It just needs to be consistent.
Perfect. What else? Someone raised their hand, or we're just going to be forced to hear the coaches talk to each other. Success stories. We're always looking for a win of the week. See, all I got to do is ask. Sheila. Good old Sheila. You always got something
He's
positive to say.
applauding. I don't know if that was a hand raise.
Yeah, she was applauding.
Oh, well, once you applauded, you got to say something. Why were you applauding? Why were you applauding, Sheila?
Because I got in touch with the guy I was talking to you about last week, the guy who runs the AI seminars, and told him, that we get together once a week on a Zoom call. He would love to join a Zoom call one of these Thursdays. I don't know if you have a specific date in mind, but I'd like to, help that happen if you're still interested in hearing what he has to say.
Absolutely. And we did see that. I thought Tim was going to get back to you, but then he's been a little under the weather. So we'll get back to you and talk to you maybe before next call.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at multiple programs, multiple options. We want to put something together that's comprehensive enough that it's going to work for a lot of different people in a lot of different situations, but simple enough that you can just plug into it. And there are so many programs, there's so many options. Matter of fact, when I came to the office yesterday and logged in, I'm old school. I don't have a Mac. I have Windows. I have Outlook. I've never made the switch to Mac. But when I came in, there was a new app on the bottom of my screen in the startup menu that I didn't recognize. I opened it out. If you have any Outlook product now, you have Pilot, Outlook Pilot.
Oh.
And from what I can, and it automatically they send it to you. It's in your start. And I tried it. It looks like ChatGPT. I mean, it looks almost identical, except you don't have to go anywhere and log in to a particular app. It's just there if you need it, for quick reference. So yeah, there are so many options. But thank you. We will revisit that. We'll get in touch with you for sure before the next Thursday call. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for anytime you guys have experts, attorneys. I mean, we're very open. Tim always says we're agnostic. We try not to recommend, one company, one CRM, because we've got thousands of clients out there using all different products. And, sometimes your office or your CRM is like your religion. It's for everybody, it's very personal. But whatever you are using, we want to help you find a way to use it in the best manner. And Sandra, boy, we're getting the veterans commenting today. Please unmute yourself.
So I just have a general question, and you may have spoken about this in the past. I'm wondering if anyone's had any success with doing some kind of presentation, like in a local library or in any kind of public location with a probate attorney, trying to educate the public about the probate process, and also at that time, marketing yourself.
Bruce, I see you shaking your head.
Yes. So I'm speaking kind of for a third party. TJ McGraw in Atlanta does that about every month, where he'll bring, or every couple of months, he brings an attorney in and talks to his audience, not about probate, but about avoiding probate, about creating an estate plan. And so far, last I talked to him, he'd done 5 or 6 of them, and he's gotten his attorney a referral every single time, and he's picked up a real estate client every single time. And his are always kind of setting up your estate plan, avoid probate type of topics. So you may have been talking about, hey, you're in the middle of probate, let me get you through it. His are a little bit before that, but it's a great approach to build your audience and client list.
Bruce, if you were doing that today, over the years, we've heard people do that. They'll sponsor a breakfast at their local board of realtors. Back when I was selling, we used to do caravans. I think that went out the door many years ago. If you were doing it today, would you do that in person, or would you try to do it virtually? Would you try to schedule some kind of a Zoom meeting?
I would absolutely be in person if I could.
Okay.
if I could. I think that that's going to be the highest and best use of your time.
Okay.
I think that there's probably a way to do it virtually to probate leads. To my knowledge, no one is doing that to probate leads. So just kind of spitballing here, I might say something like, hey, join every week I do this free webinar. It talks about cutting your time in probate in half and avoiding these mistakes. If you want to sign up here. Matt, Milla, they're probably going to be a good retargeting approach. So sign up here. I do a webinar once every week or two, or once a month, and we talk about cutting your time in probate in half. So offer something substantial. As Alex Hermosi says, make an offer so good that they feel stupid saying no. Not, I'm doing a webinar so you can come and figure out if you want me to list your house. That's not an offer so good they feel stupid saying no. So do something that would be very difficult for them to say no to.
Perfect. Before I move on to Cam, to answer Flanders' question, I think that's your name, Flander. The name of the book was Never Split the Difference. It's a book and it's a tape series.
Mm-hmm.
It's from a professional hostage negotiator where, you know, the old theory, like meet me halfway, he basically says never do that. And you have to read the book to figure out why, but it was really good. A lot of concrete suggestions and techniques. So yeah, we should have a recommended reading list. We don't talk about that enough. I am so spoiled. I read a book, a couple books a month for 10 years. now it's audio programs. I don't read nearly as much as I used to. It's just a better, you can multitask. You can drive, you can exercise, you can be out for your walk. Don't read as much, but they're both, it depends on how you learn. Some people are more visual, some are more audio learners. So perfect. All right, Cam, what's up? Thank you for raising your hand.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Great.
So to elaborate, I can't remember her name. She just was saying about people went and spoken at events. That's kind of what I've been focused on lately. Just going in with an estate planning attorney, visiting senior centers, and just preaching preventative, and I handle the reactive. I mean, I try not to go like straight real estate investor. I try to go more like, the message you guys taught me to preach, basically. Like, how can I serve? How can I help? And it's been beneficial so far. I actually did something 2 days ago. So that was my first time on TV. So that was actually kind of nerve wracking, but yeah.
Nice. Interview,
So,
network television or interview?
yeah. So it's this guy, he's an investor, but he runs like this little, I don't know, like television segment, like once a month, where he just brings on real estate investors and he speaks about certain topics. And I met him at a few events, and he's seen what I've been doing on Facebook, and he was just like, "Hey, you want to come speak?" And one of the attorneys that I prospected, he just liked my message, and he's like, "Hey, let's team up and let's go to these places and just you handle one side, I handle the other." And we just been kind of going from there. I got two more events at senior homes. I'm gonna bring them some compression socks. Try to,
I love it. Percussion socks?
compression socks for the old people.
Compression socks. Okay.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah,
yeah,
show up with something of value. Yeah.
yeah. Just try to bring, don't come empty-handed, I guess.
Yeah. And Cam, while you were talking, I just focused on something. I have a sister who's owned a title company, very successful title company for 35 years. And probably like 5 years ago, she joined a local BMI group. And so, yeah, if you don't want to go and make your own group, she is doing phenomenal with it. There's like 20 members. They have one of each occupation.
Yeah,
And
you're only allowed to have one of each. And so I just door knocking because I'm a networker. I went into a attorney's office one time. I was bringing chocolate strawberries, and this brother and sister, they do estate planning, and they invited me to a BNI meeting. And yeah, I went for like a month, but I just I didn't end up falling into it. But I should actually go back and just say hi to that attorney because he was cool. He was real cool.
kind of like a Rotary Club, I think. I don't know what exactly the same, but the nice part about it, you've got like 20 professionals, only one of each. So you've got, divorce attorneys, estate planning attorney, you've got realtors, investors, and they're very loyal. So you've got about 20 active professionals that are regular producers that anytime one of their clients needs a realtor or an investor, you're the go-to guy. They really go out of and they acknowledge and they reward each other for having sent referrals. It's a reciprocal referral
Super cool.
agreement.
Super cool. So
Yeah,
I would
think
have
so
to
too.
present myself as like a property manager, basically, because I wouldn't be able to do, because the group that I went to in Lowell, well, Chelmsford, because they don't have a Lowell chapter, they already have kind of like their go-to investor. So he was like, yeah, you probably have to come in as a property manager. And I was like, that's not bad, just to be able to, you know,
Sure.
network, I guess.
Have you also ever looked into a RIA group in your market?
I'm at my mentor's office. They're actually about to have a networking event right here,
Yeah.
like at 7 o'clock. Well, 6:30. And
Okay.
but yeah, I'm all into the networking part of everything. So right now, I want to focus more on exactly what Bruce was saying, like a couple minutes ago, like the longevity of doing my marketing plan, because like I'm doing my mailers and all that stuff now. I'm making the calls. I'm CRMs, starting to flow, but I also want to start like targeting towards my warm leads. Like the people that like, because I don't want to keep calling them and they're like, well, I haven't got my papers yet. And it's like, yeah, we've had a great rapport. They're like, oh, I'm going to come to you. And of course, I don't want to lose that, but I don't want to keep sounding like, okay, well, we have nothing else to talk about. All right, bye. And it just gets awkward. So I want to like be able to send something like warm lead wise. So that's kind of like my next thing.
Perfect. Any suggestions there, Bruce? I know you've talked about that a lot in the past. What things that you can share with the people that'll keep the conversation fresh?
Yeah, there are absolutely, and this is going to require some brainstorming. Small
What are
shameless,
your options?
small shameless plug, because I don't want to leave this, I don't want to leave this necessarily on a cliffhanger. But I'm going to have to leave it on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So inside of the Probate Mastery certification course that we have, we talk about that. And then when I privately coach people, we actually build we actually build your follow-up marketing sequence. So I may not be able to give you right now on this call all the things that you should be doing, but you should absolutely have several follow-up marketing pieces. So once someone goes into your pipeline, you need to be sending packages with checklists, which are inside of the All the Leads library. You can get a probate checklist, brochures. You can get a brochure from All the Leads as well. A letter, maybe an offer in your package. You should probably also have additional follow-up letters, postcards, emails in your campaign. And I would just create a checklist of everything that I have available to send someone after I've had a conversation with them. And then just check off, hey, I've sent them this. The next thing I want to send is that piece. And kind of build out your library of follow-up pieces. It's going to go a long way. I can promise you it goes a long way if you have a library of follow-up pieces and a process in your CRM for delivering that. It'll take your business from potentially a couple of deals a month up to dozens of deals a month. I have people doing that with their follow-up sequence.
Perfect. And Roger just commented that whatever they talked about in the last conversation, he always encloses something helpful with a handwritten note. He's a big believer in handwritten notes. It's not, it's not a form that, hey, we talked about this on the last call, which is just anything you can do to be different. The old 180-degree theory, be different than what everybody else is doing. Is that helpful, Kim? Anything else? Oh, unmute Cam again, please.
So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to work on. I mean, maybe is it? I mean, that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back through my probate mastery and rewatch my videos, because I kind of strayed from it because I was like, oh, I'm kind of good now. This is why you constantly continue to educate yourself, because But yeah, that's kind of what I want to work on next. I don't know if it's possible to hop on a call with yourself later, Bruce. Maybe talk
Sure, yeah.
about that one-on-one.
Email me and I'll send you a calendar link to be able to do that.
Awesome sauce. I mean, you see my beginning. Like I started in these very rooms. So guys, this is very possible. I implore you to stay with it. I met some great people through these exact rooms. Bruce and, Jim, I really thank you guys, but you guys have to stay consistent. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yep. And
And
it always takes, one of my original mentors used to say, everything always takes longer than you think it will or want it to.
absolutely. And now look at it. I'm over here speaking at events and working with attorneys. Now they're texting me like, "Hey Cam, could you help this?" And it definitely works. But yeah, so that's the next part of it. I'm going to see if I can pull the whole advertising towards my warm leads together. And also Bruce, guys, Jim too. I didn't know, like, I know it's kind of beneficial, but I don't know if it's like super beneficial to be like preaching the whole, like going to those type of events. I'm the one really setting them up. Like the attorneys don't mind, because they're getting the most exposure, but like, do you see it like being beneficial in the long run? Like, is this something I should continue to be doing, or maybe I'm just overthinking and just keep working at it?
Well, anytime I'm doing anything, I always recognize that just because something doesn't work once or twice doesn't mean that that exact same no tweaks added process isn't going to start working. So sometimes it's just a matter of the longevity. Most of the time, if something doesn't work like a second time, I'm making some tweaks to the offer, to the result that I'm promising. I'm just making some tweaks along the way. And every now and then you just scrap the idea completely. I would, depending on kind of the effort that you've put in and how many times you've done it, I would just make a couple of tweaks. And if you've already done that, it's still not working, just change your approach, because there's so many ways to get business in this space, just so
Absolutely.
many ways.
Absolutely.
The idea is once you start getting a little bit of traction, and traction reveals itself in the form of a pipeline. It does not, and Cam, you know this, it's for everybody else. It does not always reveal itself in the form of a listing appointment or a purchase appointment right away. It reveals itself in the growth of your pipeline. So if you're getting that, then it's just a matter of keeping on, and continuing to fill your pipeline and make sure you've got a strong follow-up plan so that you don't lose people along the way.
No, I need to hear that.
All right.
Thank you very much, guys.
We are
Sorry
at
for
the top of thank you, Kim. Good content, good comments, and appreciate you. A lot of times our successful people, are too busy to come back on the calls. We always appreciate come back and pass on what you learned to everybody else. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Still learning, so I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Last call. If anybody has any issues, we are at the top of the hour. So going, gone. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank Alex, Bruce, Aline, Steve, Jody, Ed, Bill, Sheila, Sandra, and Cam for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.